Now, I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to chat. So good of you to drop by. I realize, of course, that you are on a quest, and it must really be something important by the way you're dressed and considering the fact that you really just didn't think you had time to stop and visit. But a little sleep breath, and some rope, and a few hours later, here we are. Would you like some tea? Scones, would you like scone? I don't think I'm that good at baking, but my friends do tend to think that I'm rather... Oh yes, you must meet my friends. Here's Wallace. Get it? Mirror, mirror on the wall, is? Well, anyway, he's shy, but oh my goodness, does he have a potty mouth when he gets going. Made of brass, yes, just like everything else of true worth in this world. Polished up and shining better than any glass and silver monstrosity. But don't mention this little dent. He's very sensitive about it. Oh, that reminds me of a paladin I knew once who just would not stop to talk. Rather like you, my dear, but much less attractive. I mean, for a human. I mean, humans are attractive, of course, but not like, well, I really think... But this paladin, now he simply would not allow me to inspect his armor and try to fix this dent that really did detract from the overall effect he was going for. I mean, it made him look positively deformed. Oh, such memories. Now, I wonder if he ever succeeded in his quest. I guess not, because you're here, and I believe you're on your way to mess with the big blue... well, that's not a very nice word, but it's what Wallace insists on calling Barbara, which is not a wise thing to do. Barb's pretty touchy and quick with her lightning breath. Why, half the sand down there is covered in glass shards because she cannot control her temper. You know, sometimes I provoke her deliberately just to watch the show. It's easy enough to escape back up here, and really, I do think she sort of enjoys the whole thing, although her pride would never allow her to admit it. But if I were you, I'd wait until you see her fly out looking for food. She always leaves when the sun is just this far above the horizon. If you see her go, you'll have about, I'd say 85 minutes to sneak into her lair, if that's what you're into. And now that reminds me of the time that I went into a lair and I really thought this is a good story. You're going to love this.
Welcome to Teachers in the Dungeon. I'm Tom Gross.
And I am Dan Ream.
And I want to hear the rest of that story. Or maybe I don't.
No, you don't, because
we don't have time.
It never ends. It would never end.
Well, we are here today in the dungeon to talk about brass dragons.
Yes.
This is part of our monthly series that we've been talking about. So you have typically done thematic. The Red Dragon was last month, and hot July, although it's very hot right now, so we're getting a lot of the after effect of that. But what was the thinking on brass dragons?
This was a little more of a stretch. I remember reading in various books a brassy sky. And usually when a sky is brassy, it means it's very hot, usually kind of dry, and that kind of day where the sun just gives you a headache because there's just enough cloud cover that it makes it even brighter somehow.
Yep.
And, heat everywhere. And that's kind of August in Illinois.
The dog days of summer. Okay. So the brass dragons.
Yes. So we're going to follow the normal way that we have looked at all these dragons. We've got a number of categories to go through. And as I've said before, they made perfect sense in my mind when I created them, but they do tend to bleed into each other. So we will try to stick with the format, but we will probably jump back and forth.
And it's usually me who jumps about.
No, it's me too. I'm like, this reminds me.
Yes.
So behaving much as a brass dragon would do. So there wasn't a lot of lore on these. And one of the things I have noticed, I think, is that the lore for dragons that we've researched, the more that they've been used by authors in the D&D world, then there's going to be a lot of lore. If they aren't used by the authors very much, then you're stuck with the bare bones and the monster manual and fizz bands.
I'm picturing dozens and dozens of manuscripts by authors that they started writing a Brass Dragon story, but because of the loquaciousness of you're sitting there finishing up chapter 1 and on page 120, so they've abandoned ship. So maybe there's a lot out there, but just nothing that was worth publishing.
Yes. So for whatever reason, Brass Dragons don't seem to have caught the fancy of authors.
Okay.
But I thought they were kind of fun.
Maybe today we'll change people's minds.
So we'll just jump right in with the lore. And as I said, not much there.
Okay.
They are the most gregarious, chatty of dragons. They are metallic, so they are in the good category. You said you found lawful good. I'm sure that's correct. As I look at them, they feel a little chaotic to me.
Okay.
But regardless, they are... I don't know if any dragon would ever be sweet-tempered, but they'd probably be the closest.
Probably the closest.
Maybe silvers would be a little more, but silvers are more, I think, noble to the point of they probably overawe you when you're in their presence. And brass are very approachable, maybe too approachable for most people's comfort.
Well, I had to look up gregarious. I've used it before in conversation, but I'm like, I'm not sure exactly what this means. And it means social.
Okay.
Gregarious equals social. Mm-hmm. So, yes, that fits right along with what you're saying.
Yes, chatty, but generally in an enjoyable way.
Yeah. I mean, by today's standards, we might call them a little creepy, because if you choose not to talk to one, it will follow you.
Yes.
And it will, as your story implied, it will put you to sleep with its breath weapon and then tie you up. And when you awaken, it will talk to you. Not forever, not like a slave or anything like that, but they will speak with you and force you to listen to their stories and whatnot. And then I'm assuming then for you, but it's a little weird. But at the same time, when you look at the theory of how a brass dragon works, it makes sense.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah, the only other lore that I really found about them, this is totally random. They can go long periods without water.
Okay.
Which you would expect as a desert dweller, as we'll say here in a second. There's some disagreement. There are some sources that say they are the most humble of dragons, which is interesting. But then there are some other sources that say, well, kinda, but really what it is they're very proud of their humility. So it's a little bit, it's complicated.
I mean, for a dragon, even to just be aware that you're humble probably is as kind as it comes.
Yes.
The last thing I had, lore-wise, is because of their love of stories and having something to talk about, they do like to play on manipulation for fun, not for harm, or do some trickery for fun. And again, I believe it's probably for the story's sake of it, and to laugh and be able to talk about it afterwards.
And they overlap a bit with coppers in that regard, but I think coppers are a little more mean-spirited and might, they're the kind of people that pull a trick that really makes you mad.
Yeah.
And then they'll just laugh at your anger. I think a brass dragon is more good-natured than that. So, but I mean, that leads us on to some of their behavior. And as we've mentioned, love to talk, but one of the interesting things I found is it's partly because they are absolutely convinced that they are giving you something of great worth to chat to you as long as they do. So really, you should be grateful. And they're not going to make a big deal of it, but they're going to be, that's the motivation.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of an interesting thing. Connected to that, we'll talk a little more about their actual horde later, but they will anthropomorphize their hordes. So they will, sort of like how Americans love their cars and ascribe personalities to their cars, and may a few even kind of talk to them, or a pet or something like that.
Sure,
and it's not that you're crazy, and it's not that you really think it's going to answer, but it's just something humans do.
Conversation.
Yes. Yeah. And brass dragons do that too. So they
like
will,
the mirror in your story.
Yes. Yeah. So they will have they'll have full-on personalities they've invented for various items of their hoard, and will probably introduce to any visitors.
Yes.
With maybe sort of a self-deprecating chuckle or something like that.
There's so much so much to say about that. It's fun. I mean, it's cool. I love that. This isn't behavior, but it's kind of what you see when you visit or when you come across a brass dragon is when they're younger, they're a little bit more of a brown mottled sort of scale. And as they age, then it becomes more of a warm, burnished luster like the brass that you'd expect to see. And their wings, interestingly, have a green mottled look to them. So they will blend in pretty well in their environment.
Yes.
Which is probably what they would prefer, because while they want to speak with people, they don't necessarily want to be noticed by predators.
Right. And they are in arid regions, which we'll talk about here in a bit.
Yeah.
They would, connected to that, they would much rather talk than fight. Brass dragons are the weakest of all the metallic dragons, and probably just about the weakest of all. If you compare them to chromatic dragons, the weakest of the chromatics is a white, and a brass dragon, as we'll see later, they wouldn't stand much of a chance unless they could outsmart the white. They're much more intelligent,
which is possible.
Definitely. They're the only dragon that I could find so far that I didn't see anything about being able to subsist on dirt or air or gems. So they do need to eat. They need the protein fix, but they never eat intelligent creatures. They will only eat antelope, bison.
So like us. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And connected to your description, the visible description, they do prefer yellow, orange, and brown gemstones.
Oh, okay.
And as I was looking through, I thought, I used to love gemstones. Like that was my fifth grade science project was on gemstones and the Mohs hardened scale. And I can't think of a brown gemstone. I think garnet can tend toward that, but that's pretty rare. So connected to that, other things they love are any objects that enhance conversation. So a genie's lamp, a sentient magical item that can speak would just be catnip to them. They love that. So
I love that expression, would be catnip to them.
So other than that, the other behaviors I noticed, wormlings you mentioned, as they develop physically, one skill they have that I think would be impressive in any dragon is if they are around a new language, within an hour they can speak it fluently.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so that fits the general pattern for them, but that would make them, that gives them a skill that other dragons don't necessarily have.
Are they limited in that? I wonder. I mean, imagine by the time you're an ancient dragon, really you, for the most part, would have every single common type of language.
Probably so.
Memorized or known.
Yeah,
that's
without
cool.
even having to have a magic spell for it or anything. So, and as we've suggested, because of their relative fragility, their other behavior, they will try to talk their way out of any confrontation. They do not really like to fight. They are not, most other dragons, even the good ones, won't look for a fight, but they're not going to back down. They have no problem just striding right in and starting. Brass dragons will not do that. They will avoid it at all costs. If they judge that a fight is going to be difficult, they'll probably run and hide, because they are, as I said, they are the least powerful of dragons. That kind of leads us into stats and abilities and habitat and things like that.
Yeah.
So
go ahead and let's do stats and abilities.
Okay. Right. So they have about half the hit points of the other major dragons.
Okay.
Their AC, I believe, tops out at 20, which is good, but I've got a fighter at level 9 that's already there. So it's not, that's nothing compared to the other.
They have vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They do have the sleeping gas breath, as we mentioned. That's their primary weapon. They have 2 breath weapons, just like every other metallic. And the other one is fire breath, but it's not quite as devastating as a red dragon's fire breath. It's just a thin line, so almost like a lightning bolt or something.
Okay.
Or a fire bolt.
Sure. Okay.
So that can do damage, but it's not going to take out...
It's individual in that area.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Did you notice anything else about their abilities or stats?
No, not necessarily. It fits sort of the way I would picture a weak dragon to be. If you can't be powerful, be everyone's friend. That way,
Words to live by.
Yeah, I mean, so it tracks. Yeah, I mean, a low-level party wouldn't want to tussle with the brass dragon.
No.
But when it comes to a dragon, they are not the one that have noble battles with.
No. And that, we can kind of stir up the habitat and stats and abilities.
Sure.
They live in arid regions, but usually the rocky outcroppings and mountains of a desert. And that puts them in potential conflict with blues. Blues like to live in deserts, although more the sandy areas. So their whole lives are being aware that there's something out there stronger, which is very different from every other dragon, really. No other dragon will admit it. Brass, they know. Yeah. And so they're fortunate that the blue is what lives next to them rather than a red or a black, because
they're a little more. Are they more passive, or how would you describe that? Because a red dragon would just, if it knew you were there, it would just come and kill you.
Yes. Blue dragons are lawful evil, so they're if you stay out of what they determine to be their territory, you're good. They don't necessarily want to kill everything; they just want to dominate it. Okay. So if a brass is willing to be like, yeah, you're the tougher one, I'm just little old me, then they might be tolerated. Okay. And we talked about this before, but honestly, when you read through all of the lore of blue dragons, they almost tend toward neutral rather than evil. They're probably the least evil of the evil dragons.
So again, that fits with all of how this would work is, if a blue dragon or if a brass dragon can convince a blue dragon, I'm not intruding upon your stuff. I'm just here. You go about your business. I'm not going to bother you. They probably could live pretty long time in the same region, and the blue dragon just thinks it has dominance over that. Yes. And the brass dragon doesn't really care as long as it leaves it alone.
Yes, I think that's probably accurate. And again, that kind of leads into role play and personality a little bit too. But so before we move on to how we would role play, a little bit more about their lairs. You did some research, found some cool stuff about the lair themselves.
Yeah, so you mentioned that they're not the desert sand kind of dragon. They like the rocky areas and whatnot. So a brass dragon would look for a canyon to find a home, or like a canyon cave or something like that, to want to live in, as well as ancient stone ruins that they might, I think you were sharing before the show, that they might watch a race that has built something like this and out of politeness or just patience wait for that group to either move on or become extinct or something like that, and then they would move into that.
Yes.
I believe also they are able to stonework themselves.
They're actually quite good at stoneworking, so they would enhance. They appreciate good work, and they know how to enhance it and make it better. Which makes me think they might have natural affinity for dwarves, but I haven't seen that in any of the lore.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
So it's an unexplored avenue, I guess.
Be kind of cool, a dwarf who studies the works of a brass dragon or something.
And actually, yes, because I don't know how it would work, and maybe that's why nobody's done it yet, but even though they share this ability with stonework and appreciation for it, their personalities stereotypically I don't think they could be more different.
Yeah, so that's true.
Dwarves would have very little patience, I would guess, for a brass dragon.
I can even see a dwarf disagreeing with the style.
Yeah.
Mine is much more superior than that. But one other thing that they like about with their lairs is to have lots of space in their lair and have lots of sunlight. So they will not dig deep. They will try to live in a cave that has sunlight, or they'll live in a space in cave like where they have a skylight or something like that. Another just interesting tidbit about them, and it fits in with their preferring not to fight, is their lairs will also have a lot of misdirection. They'll have empty chambers that, when something is coming to invade or search a brass dragon's lair, they might search lots of empty chambers and determine that this is just abandoned and empty.
Probably shafts that lead you right back out where you started.
Right. Yeah. Maze-like.
But not dangerous. That's what I found was interesting. It's not like the other dragons have. There's going to be some bad stuff you're going to come across if you take the wrong turn.
If the dragon can't bore you with its stories, it's going to bore you with an empty lair.
Yes.
So just some notes on the lair. Now, when you get into the region of a brass dragon, if you are a non-evil race. And you walk into I believe it's 6 miles out, maybe it's not quite that far out, I don't recall, but you will suddenly notice that the sun that has been beating down on you and making you feel just drained, all of a sudden you have shade that seems to follow you about. And if you look up, you'll see that a wispy little cloud is just coming along with you and giving you some relief from the heat of the sun, relief from the glare of the sun, to the point where it will give you advantages on certain types of saves and rolls. And so you get a little cloud companion.
I love that.
When you're in the region of, so it's almost like the brass dragon is inviting people like that to its lair.
It's very whimsical.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of contradictoriness there, though, in the sense that one of the other effects is that there are illusory animals, like monsters, everywhere. So kind of come here, go away type of an attitude from the brass dragon. I didn't see anywhere where it's actively controlling those effects, but maybe the brass has control over the illusions, and if it senses someone that it doesn't want to see, or someone who's dangerous, then the illusions become very threatening.
I can totally see that being something that they get more control of as they age.
Yeah.
Like an ancient dragon would have complete control over that and have the awareness. Whereas an adult dragon might have the awareness that those are out there, but very little control, and a wormling would, wormling doesn't really,
They don't really have a lair yet, so.
But another thing that goes along with that is that ordinary creatures that are in the region of a brass dragon lair will communicate and talk just for the sake of communicating and talking. So birds will chirp and sing incessantly. Rattlesnakes will rattle all the time.
I was going to say, we were talking about this a bit before, and we were thinking, it'd be this cacophony. I think, well, yeah, but you're in a desert, so I don't know how spiders would
I mean,
chitter or whatever.
But
the snakes, the foxes, you'd have a few.
So you'd hear that, but it wouldn't be, I mean, it'd be one of those things where maybe passive perception to note that, you're hearing a lot more this or that.
Deserts usually aren't this noisy.
Yes, exactly. Did you want to talk about the lair actions once you get there?
Sure, yeah. So some of the other things that they can do, they can call up sandstorms, they can call up windstorms to sort of keep you out. They so they've got, again, a mix of that they can control. If they want you to come in, it'll be somewhat inviting. Otherwise, they'll do everything they can to scare you off without an actual
make it uncomfortable to get there.
Yeah. So I think that's all I've got.
The one
Anything
thing
else?
Was the animated statues.
Oh, right. Yes.
Going back to their ability to stonework, they will create in their layers these statues that they can animate if somebody makes it that far to dissuade them from getting there, distract while they make their way out or to a hiding spot. So there's that as well in the lairs.
Cool. Yeah, I forgot about that. That is a really good. That is, and I'm already kind of thinking about how that would look and play out. You know, a very threatening statue, but
right.
But if you bluff your way past, maybe it turns and it says, "You're gonna get it."
Right.
So anyway, I think we're ready for the role play aspect.
Yeah.
And again, they're as you said, with low level players, they would be a very powerful presence, as all dragons would be. Right. But I think that fades pretty quickly. And I feel like, given just the lore and the way that this dragon operates, it's either going to be comic relief or it's going to be an ally, or this would be strange for a dragon, but something that needs rescuing. Because it is the most likely to find itself trapped or harmed or potentially harmed by a more powerful creature.
Right.
And so that's a couple different ways that we could do that. But I do see them being very useful. One of the other things about them and their horde is that they are the least greedy about it. So I was reading that they are one that will part with items if there's a good reason.
Right.
So I was thinking that might be kind of fun as a change of pace if you've had just a very grueling campaign series with your party and they've had to fight and claw for every single advantage. Then maybe you set them up and say, here's your next task, but you're going to need this magic talisman, which is in a dragon's hoard. You're going to have to go and get that from the dragon. You can talk to the dragon. It'll talk. Maybe you don't give any other information than that. And they show up and the dragon, begins speaking and they ask and he's like, all right. Sure. Yeah. It's over there. Don't break it.
All this anxiety and like planning and everything just to be told, yeah, you could take that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you want? Yeah, sure. Or they walk in and there's chairs and a table set up. Have a seat, folks. Yes. We're going to talk for a little bit. There's also a thought that I just had where maybe there's a council of brass dragons that meets and it is like a Toastmasters. And somehow you have to get involved in this like kind of just fun-loving, but, just where you're putting each other down and you have to be the best at putting these brass dragons down to be able to win. And then they give you whatever is the prize.
Telling the best story.
Yeah. I think there's some cool role play that can go along with that. I was even thinking, to role play having tea with a brass dragon. And you've been tasked to get in and out of tea with the brass dragon before the tea gets cold. And how can you try to navigate that conversation so the brass dragon isn't offended, but you get out? I mean, so you could have some fun with it.
That'd be a fun thing to throw into summer camp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As a role play.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it. So there's some things there. And then I thought it might be cool. I would not be good at this personally, but some people like you would be really good at this. Having a brass dragon that talks in parables or riddles.
That'd be tricky. Yeah.
Or like extreme descriptive type of speech. Like, the verbal speech of a Stephen King book, where it just is like, holy cow, I didn't even think you could put that much description into X. Or, as in your dragon in the introduction, become very dramatic and tell these drama stories and all this kind of stuff. And so giving your brass dragon a big time personality, I think would be a lot of fun.
So the last thing before we're done is just any notable named dragons. Yeah. And again, very sparse set of lore here. I only came up with 3 names.
Yeah.
Arjavar and Asterinian, who's the messenger of the god Bahamut. But you were able to dig into Eleuthera, who's a little more interesting.
Yeah, and I know you've got some research on it too, so I'm going to come to you a couple of times because she's the servant of the god of knowledge.
Ogma.
And what was interesting to me about Eleuthera was that she learned how to play chess, and didn't just learn how to play it, became a master of chess. Nobody could come close to defeating her. And so she thought it'd be fun to challenge Ogma to a game of chess. And while it wasn't the drubbing of other opponents, she beat Ogma.
Yes.
And came back and would you like to play again? And so they played again, and I think they played a total of 3 times initially in the story, in the lore, and she defeats him every time.
Yes.
And so she is promoted as far as like the hierarchy of being part of Ogma's group. And with that promotion, she sat on the council of dignitaries to deal with the rise of the cult of dragons and the potential return of Tiamat.
Yes.
And so something that made me think about Eleuthera, and I think a couple of the dragons that were named in your stories, is they tended to be better listeners than necessarily speakers. And I wonder if that's the secret of success for a brass dragon, is to, be able to share a story and talk, but also to be able to listen, because Eleuthera was certainly not put on this council to just yammer.
Yes.
She was put on that council because she was a strategist. She could see the move that was coming ahead of time, and it is exampled through the play of chess. And so she was put onto this council to deal with the potential return of Tiamat, which would be a pretty honorable place to be.
Yeah. The only other thing I found is not only because she discovered this love of chess, she also strikes out to try to find new challenging games at any opportunity.
Cool.
And I was thinking this, I wish I'd stumbled across this sooner. A brass dragon would be the perfect symbol or mascot for our game club.
Yes.
So we need to commission somebody to draw us a sassy brass dragon.
Yes. Playing a game and about to win.
Yes.
I can see she's got the queen right by the opponent's king, just ready to strike. Checkmate. Well, good. This has been fun. Brass dragons, probably a dragon that many people pass on.
Yes.
Because of the lack of threat initially, by
Yes.
looking at the stat block, which is most of the time where our eyes go to when choosing a opponent or an NPC. So there's a lot of opportunity here.
Definitely would add some flavor and a different look at dragons.
Yeah. So if you've used the brass dragon in your game, we'd love to hear about it. Or if we have inspired you to try out a brass dragon as a NPC or some type of a assist or ally in your games, let us know. Let us know how those games have gone and how you develop those. Send us an email, teachersinthedungeon@gmail.com, and we will share your stories right here on the show. Well, Dan, hopefully it cools down a little bit as the school year gets started. But until then, for everybody out there and for all the kids that we're going to be seeing soon, keep rolling those 20s.